You know what I'm saying? Like, it can happen. We are culture. Nothing moves without us. We just continue to give it away. And it's cool. Everyone can participate. Nike still works with Jordan.
Right.
It's just the nature of our relationship has to change.
We have to feel like we can be empowered.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Jay Lex Podcast. Please like, share, subscribe to the content on YouTube and other platforms. Thank you for rocking with me today. Today's topic, the needed evolution of hip-hop. And what do I mean by that? We know about hip-hop culture. We know it has been the predominant culture here in the States as well as abroad for at least 30 years, if not longer. We know it started in the Bronx. We know that I know Fat Joe recently got into some issues because he said blacks and Latinos, 50-50 started hip-hop. That's debatable. He was there during kind of the infancy of hip-hop, so he has a different perspective than other people. We know about Jay-Z, him being a billionaire. Nas, I believe, is a billionaire or close to it. Dr. Dre, Beats by Dre, the whole bit. So we've seen hip-hop, rap music, evolve into a multi-billion, if not close to trillion-dollar business. I mean, it has been exploited. Rap, some artists have obviously made money and things along those lines, but we know it has been exploited by a lot of people, Leo Cohen's amongst others. But what I want to talk about today is hip-hop needs to go beyond just the entertainment part, the entertainment value of it. It needs to be in every part of society in a positive way. We've seen more recently of several rappers have been shot and killed. We've seen guys like, I think there's a Lil Baby who got brought up on RICO charges. We still see things related to gangs and things along those lines. You see some of these guys there. I think it's drill music. I'm not as familiar with drill music. Please educate me. Which I think I've been told started around 2012 and has really picked up. We've seen just endless violence. And it's not only the violence, but just guys going up on things like Instagram and everything along those lines and just shouting out all their business. I've never seen anything like this before. And what I want to talk about today is where hip-hop needs to go to not only survive as the dominant culture, but to be able to affect change beyond just entertainment. We know that rappers are in commercials. We know they're making money. But what I want to see out of hip-hop is I want to see these men and women, for that matter, going into other things. I want to see real hip-hop men. Not Eric Adams, who people seem to be rocking with because he's making appearances, he's going to clubs, he's walking around Times Square like he's on an episode of SVU. Back in the day, for some of you, I'm a little older than some of y'all, obviously, but there was a guy by the name of Kwame Kilpatrick out of Detroit. He was the mayor. He was like a young guy at the time, 31 or something like that. I think I was in college or just after college. I mean, this was the guy, you know what I'm saying? He had an earring in, he would walk around, he had the swag and everything like that. But ultimately, politically speaking, I don't know him personally, but politically speaking, he was a piece of shit. Racketeering, what's the other word I'm looking for? I mean, there was racketeering, there was bribery. I mean, he was doing all the same things that every other politician did. And he got a lot of time in jail. I think he's out now, if memory serves me correctly. I think they got him on almost 30 years or something like that. It was crazy. But you don't need that in politics, as an example. I want to see people who are related to hip-hop, who are about the culture, who dress and everything like that. I want to see them in corporate America. I want to see them running businesses, beyond just, record labels and selling music and all that other stuff. I want to see them in medicine. I want to see them in math and the sciences. I want to see them not only affecting change, but I want them to be seen. And some people don't want to be seen. That's fair. but I want them to be seen in such a positive light. You know, we've repeatedly talked about, you know, people of color in particular wanting things like reparations. You have some pretty powerful people. Jay-Z is one of the most powerful non-political figures out there. But Jay-Z is not going to get black people reparations. He's just not. Part of it is probably he just wants to be able to make a little bit of money. Or, well, more than a little bit of money. He's worth a bill. He wants to make some money. He wants to go on vacation, and I can't blame him for that. I remember it was a big deal when he sold Tidal, I believe, to, was it Jack Dorsey or something like that, and he made a bunch of money on it, as well as the other artists, the other musical artists who were in business with him when they bought Tidal at the time, 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. I remember it was a big deal. People got mad. Oh, you know, this is not hip-hop, blah, blah, blah. No. Jay-Z's a businessman. He's not a businessman. He's a businessman. He understands the importance of when to bow out. I think he might still own some shares in it, or he's on the board or something like that, but he doesn't want to have to handle the day-to-day operations. And I get all that. Now, a lot of people were very upset. This ain't hip-hop, blah, blah, blah. The same people who complained about Jay-Z selling Tidal would have done literally the same exact thing. Why? Because it was just smart business. But what I want to see, like I said before, I want to see hip-hop heads. Maybe you're a rapper, maybe you're whatever the case might be, but I want to see those people in medicine. I want to see those people in the hospitals. And you might know them to a certain extent. You might see them. But, you know, I want them to be visible. I want them to be in law enforcement. That's a big deal. You know, you think about it, if you can get somebody who is of the culture, who believes in the culture, who loves the culture, who can go into the NYPD, LAPD, you're not going to change all the corruption that's going on. It's just human nature. Corruption is just a part of human nature. It is what it is. But the reality is you want people who speak that language. You want people who understand it and are simply not going to use it as a means to fill up the prison system. We know how that goes. We know they are privatized, they're federalized. We know that they purposely, I didn't even realize this till a couple years ago, they purposely will keep you in there for an extended period of time, have you come out, then you've got to pay them back whatever amount of money it was that they spent on you while you were cheap labor for them. And if you don't, they come back for you to put you back in jail. It's a recurring cycle. And this doesn't change by just talking about it in music or protesting. You've got to have people on the inside who are willing and able to try to, at the very least, try to make those changes. You know, a lot of y'all voted for Kamala Harris. Please tell me what Kamala Harris has done for black people, or hip-hop for that matter. I know she's putting people in prison and extending their sentences. That's just a fact. That is not to be disputed. As I mentioned on a previous episode, some of y'all knew she did that, and you went out and voted for her and Joe Biden anyway. Or would have voted for her if she'd ended up becoming the presidential nominee for the Dems. You've got to have real people in there who understand you, who understand the plight that you're going through. It's not to say that they should let you get away with anything. Clearly that is not the case. But if you got a few more police officers who are of the culture, who understand the culture, who understand the neighborhoods that they're either in, or try to understand those neighborhoods and try to build relationships, you're not going to save everybody. That clearly that's just not the case. But what you can do is put people in a position or create a situation, I should say, where people now are like, oh, you know what? That's officer such and such. Oh, that's DA such and such. That's whomever the person is, whoever the public servant is. Oh, okay, we know who that person is. We can trust them. Because one of the things that we have is mistrust of the police. Rightfully so. But you got to have people in there who the public trusts, so that if, God forbid, something happens in the neighborhood, because we see this all the time, something happens in the neighborhood, people turn around and they look and they say what? Oh, we're not snitching. Well, the whole not snitching thing, or the stop snitching thing is an entirely, whatever, it's an entirely different thing, because people think that snitching is just anything. If you talk to law enforcement, you're snitching. Well, that's not always the case. We already know that. Some people will believe that no matter what. You don't talk to police, blah, blah, blah. You know what? There should be change within law enforcement. We should not be defunding the police. What we should be doing is getting rid of the bad apples in there. And you're not going to get all of them, but get the bulk of them out of there. I said before, if you're a good cop and you understand the culture, you understand everything like that, cool. We ain't got no issues with you. Keep doing what it is that you do. Protect and serve. If you're a bad cop, get them out of here. Get her out of here. Because all they're trying to do in most situations is trying to escalate a thing so that they can arrest you, so that they can fill their quotas. Yeah, as we know, they said, oh, we don't have quotas. Bullshit. They got quotas. That's how they keep the money going. That's how they keep the money coming in. But we need more people who are of the hip-hop culture in these positions who are actually going to take care of the people that they're supposed to take care of. We need more people of the hip-hop culture in the sciences. Medicine, health. Otherwise, medicine, you need them in health, or health and wellness, health and fitness. Yoga instructors, you know, I could go on and on, whatever there is out there. Okay, nutritionists, dietitians, they should be working in nursing homes. Hip-hop should not just be about music and what you wear. It should be in math. I know math is like one of the things that we're not really good at in this country. You need more people there. I know it's like a subculture within. Yeah, you want to be a skateboarder? Cool. Are you good at math, though? Nothing wrong with being a nerd or a blurred or whatever they're called. They should be embraced into the culture. All this separation is unnecessary. They shouldn't be in a separate category. I'd like to wear Vans and I like to skateboard. Cool. Lupe Fiasco, they want a Lupe Fiasco. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We shouldn't promote, hip-hop culture should be beyond promoting ignorance. We should have people who, if you're in government and you're in a neighborhood, you may not want to gentrify the area. But you know what? We should not be sitting here celebrating gang violence. We should not be still in 2022, given some of the many steps that it's taken to get to this point, still be like, oh, that's just a block, that's just the way it is. No. We should have more people in real estate. People buying real estate, not only for themselves. Hip-hop generates so much money. And yet you're still sitting here lacking. You're still behind. And I don't want to hear about all the things that happened in the past. In 1870, there was Black Wall Street. I believe it was Oklahoma, and it got burned to the ground. Yes, that was 150 years ago, though. The Holocaust happened, 1940s, if memory serves me correctly? Do you see Jewish people out here talking about, the Holocaust happened 80-some years ago, and that's why we held back? No. You know what they're doing? You probably pay rent to them. Come over to Rockland County. Go check out a place called Muncie. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Hell, other Jewish people know. People who don't even live in New York know Muncie. Know that particular sect of people. I know they don't get along with them. But you don't see Jewish people complaining. What do? They own things. They own land. They own apartment buildings. They own. And all I ever hear from certain people within the hip-hop culture, is how, this thing happened and that thing happened. Yes, we recognize what happened. We make sure it doesn't happen again. You hear Jewish people all the time. Never again. It'll never happen to them again. You want to know why? Because they came to realize we've got to own something. And we have to have influence. This is what I'm talking about. Influence. You want change in your favor? You've got to have people who are in a position of power. We've heard 1,000 times, you got to work together, but you have to work together efficiently. All I ever see from people of color, some people of color, is infighting over nonsense. You shouldn't just have actors and rappers and people along those lines. Now, they play a role. Everybody has an important role. The idea, like when we were going through lockdown, that there were only certain jobs that were essential is nonsense. Everybody's job is essential. Some might be more important than others. That goes without saying. But your job, your employment, your education is not non-essential. Don't let anybody ever tell you that. Not a Cuomo or anybody else. Everybody's essential, for the most part. And that's why hip-hop has to evolve beyond just music or just business. You need people in these different positions. And then you can have those who are of notoriety coming in and saying, all right, hey, such and such here is an important person. This nurse, this doctor, this school teacher, this college professor, this garbage man, this garbage woman, this welder. I don't care what the position is. You want different people there because then you can go to them when something needs to get done. This architect. All right, I need a house built. Oh, I know such and such from down the street. He's a really good architect. That architect will know somebody who will actually be able to build a house, a construction company, whatever the case might be. And now you're taking your monies that comes into the black hip-hop community quickly and leaves quickly. Now you're funneling that money into your culture, and it stays in there, and it stays in there, and it stays in there, and it stays in there. You need people that are black-owned banks, because now you can go and get a loan. You need people in hip-hop and black culture who are quality money managers. That way you're not either going to somebody else, I'll say. I won't say specifically who, just so people call me, names or whatever. You're going to people who are in your community, and you're keeping that money in the community. You need people who are clothing owners or own clothing stores, preferably black-owned clothing. Why? Because you're keeping that money in the culture. I've told you before, you go to your local outlet mall. I know malls don't really exist anymore. They're not important anymore. But the outlet ones are, because they, especially during the holiday season, they drop their prices 40%. Where will you see a lot of those black people? They're in there. They're in the Pradas, the Gookies, the Louis Vuittons, all those places. When they should be buying things from black people. And that's not to say you can't buy from those either. But it shouldn't be exclusive. I talked about Jewish people before, in particular a certain sect. Other than things that they can't negotiate, their money stays in-house. And they build, and they build. Come to Rockland County. Go through Rockland County. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about, if you've ever seen it before. It's amazing what they do. A lot of it is illegal, but they also know how to play the game. So you can't put all the pressure upon a Jay-Z or a Nas or anybody else within the hip-hop culture. You got to have real people who go in and say, I want to invoke change. You got to have real politicians who go in who say, I want to invoke this, I want to make this happen, I want to make that happen. If it's reparations, cool. I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. Because the way it's working right now, you're not getting anything out of this. You as a culture are not getting anything out of this. You're not. You're getting very little. You're getting hip-hop, the most dominant culture for the past 30 years, got sold for crumbs. You got a couple gold chains. You probably got a BMW. And you probably got a house. And given the way that the music, the companies work, the artist doesn't get paid on the record or the album. They have to go on tour to make money. And now They're doing 360 deals where they're getting a little bit of everything. You can't have that. I mean, it's a great time because because of the internet. You can go and you can be more of an entrepreneur. You can go and hustle your thing yourself. You can put it on Tidal and Apple Music and blah, blah, blah. Where's Black Twitter? Where's Blitter? Not just some subsection of Twitter, but Blitter, the Black Twitter. Where's the black version of YouTube? That's owned by black people. Who was it? Swiss Beats and Timbaland made the Versus thing. You know, for those of you who remember, probably the most famous performance that was on there was Dipset versus Lox. We know Jadakiss killed it. We know massacred Dipset. That was their thing. And what did they do? They sold it. Now I guess I'd heard that they're fighting with whoever the parent company was that's supposed to pay them, blah blah blah. Once again, another idea that black people came up with that got sold for pennies. $1 billion, probably $1 trillion idea sold for pennies. It's got to be more than just a black church. We know the scammers that they are. Well, the church in general. You need more people in different places. I mean, hell, Al Sharpton still has a voice in your community. Come on. Are you serious? In 2022, that man still has a voice in your community? You have got to be kidding me. You need new leaders. You need young leaders. You know, middle-aged who've lived a little bit. You don't have to necessarily have gone to college, but you can also have a doctorate. Everybody is important. You can all contribute something to it. That's how you get change done. Not just by talking about it on records, not just by flashing your money on the gram. All that's going to lead to is, you know, the IRS, who just hired, I think, 90,000 new IRS agents, you know, with the heat, you know, on their pocket if necessary, on their hip if necessary, looking into your finances. And what you should be doing is having a group of lawyers who look and say, real lawyers, tax attorneys, etc., finding those loopholes that guys like Donald Trump, amongst others, including the Dems and the Repubs, have used for decades. That's where hip-hop needs to go. All the infighting is unnecessary. It's fun for entertainment purposes, but we're beyond that. We're beyond unnecessary beefs. We should be beyond drug trafficking. A couple of these young guys out here are going to lose their prime, going to jail, or getting reduced sentences, or whatever the case might be, and losing years of being able to make good money. All because they wanted to still keep it a G, when it's not worth it. It's time to evolve hip-hop. It's time to go beyond just the music, just the fashion, just the flossing and all that other stuff. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Jay Lex Podcast. Take care. Bye.